I hit a wall. I thought I was further along the journey than I actually am. I've been studying since January and I thought I would be better than I am. Hacking is one of those skills that requires a lot of knowledge, ability, and patience. And learning to hack has so far been one of the most interesting and rewarding skills I have been privileged to learn. To be honest, I'm not a master hacker, and I hope that's obvious with this channel. I'm not completing challenges left and right. I'm not hacking boxes left and right and up and down and upside down. I'm not hacking in my sleep. I'm actually not that good at it. And these last 2 weeks have reminded me of the fact that I am still a beginner. I thought I was further along in my hacking journey, but apparently not. This week I faced what I thought was going to be a really exciting learning module compared to the Metasploit module, which was good, but not as exciting as exploitation. But then I realized something. I realized that hacking is actually harder than I thought, and I hit a wall. But what I learned from my failure to hack, I think will be able to help you learn and possibly do better than I did. So I want to share 3 things that I think will help you learn from my failure, and hopefully you won't hit a wall like I did. Number 1 is just to have a cheat sheet. This is pretty straightforward. Make sure you develop some form of cheat sheet for you. Basically, a cheat sheet is a document that has a list of commands arranged by tools or services, something that just makes sense for you to be able to quickly reference when you're doing like a challenge or a penetration test or something. It's just a reference guide for you to be able to quickly move through those challenges. And as I've been going through this course, this is kind of something that I've been working on. It's not fully a cheat sheet yet, but basically what I have is my notes from each of the lessons, and I've arranged them by service, enumeration, exploitation, and so on. And so this kind of helps me be able to search and find what I need as I'm going through a challenge. And I have 3 tips in order to make a cheat sheet that's actually helpful. The first is to make sure that it's searchable. So make sure that you're using something apart from like Microsoft Word in order to be able to link things up and search your documentation. Next thing is make sure that it is organized well. Make sure that you understand its organization. Don't just have everything just, thrown in there. Make sure you have it by either methodology or by services or by point of challenge, like understanding how you work. Make sure that it makes sense to you. That leads me to my last tip, which is make sure you follow some form of a methodology. This will help you know what kind of stage you're at when you are trying to hack into a box or doing a penetration test. And it will also give you structure to your notes as you go through a penetration test. And doing up a cheat sheet has actually helped me as I've been learning to hack. Number 2 is be comprehensive. So the next thing that I learned from this week's failure is that I need to be way more comprehensive than I am most of the time. I'm a little bit too hasty to move forward and want to just hack all the things without really checking everything. And I kind of approach this black box challenge that we've got in this course with the mentality,
this will be easy. I'll be able to smash through this box in this course and become a master hacker.
And I was so wrong. I started the challenge, as you usually would, by using Nmap and scanning the targets and trying to figure out what kind of services we're running, and everything was all good. And you'd think that after 90 hours worth of course content and labs that I would take my time and enumerate all the services and trying to figure out what's actually on the box. But no, Jerry doesn't do that. Jerry actually just runs forward and goes, yeah, let's jump into the FTP server. Oh yeah, let's try to hack into the web server. Let's try to do this. Let's try to do that. That's not how it works. That's the least productive way to do a pen test, to attack a system and be able to list all the vulnerabilities and then create a good report. Because at the end of the day, this isn't a CTF. And I think I just went into it thinking that it was a CTF. And I'm really scared that when it comes exam time, I'm going to think of the eJPT as a CTF and not as a penetration test, a black box penetration test. And then I'm going to treat it like that, and I'm going to waste about 48 hours worth of exam treating it as a CTF and not as a black box penetration test. And that's scary. That's a scary thing to think about. And I think I treated it this way because the labs are set up that you like test little things along the way, and then eventually when you come to this, one black box penetration test, you kind of put everything together. And that's not a fault of the course, that's kind of my own fault. I didn't think that I needed to kind of put it all together. I don't know why I didn't think that, because that should be the obvious thing to think of, but that's just how I approached it. And so instead of going for the right way of doing it, slowing down and being comprehensive, I just went for the fun stuff, the exploitation. I failed this section and didn't do well. Now, my advice for you, and my advice for myself, obviously, as I go forward, is to be more comprehensive. Check out the services, run more Nmap scans, do some brute forcing, do proper enumeration, do some research on the services that are actually running on there that may or may not have something that of value as a penetration tester. I think the only thing that I probably would fault this whole module on is that there weren't enough flags to be able to capture. Now, I know I said that I was treating it as a capture the flag, but I think it would help us to be able to guide us through the actual methodology and putting it all together, because I think these last two modules, this exploitation one and the post-exploitation one, are actually more to do with like how to put everything together and running an exploitation, rather than simply just doing like little labs, trying out tools, trying out different vulnerabilities and that kind of thing. So I think if there was some way for INE to put out a whole bunch of different flags throughout the test, so it will be like how many services are running on the system, or what version of FTP is running on the system, what can you find in this folder within the system, just different things like that, how many users are on the system, just different things that will help you to like enumerate and do the exploitation. Those little things I think would actually help to put together the different steps and stages of the penetration test. But again, I think I wouldn't have learned as much as these lessons if I hadn't have failed. So, pros and cons of that kind of approach. Let me know if you're finding this video helpful and these tips helpful by clicking the like button just down there. Number 3, be patient. I'm the kind of person that adapts really well, learns really quickly, but then gets really bored really easily. And I find that I really struggle to be patient. Now, my wife calls me a phasey person, which means that I go through phases. One day I'll be interested in one thing, and then the next day I'll be interested in another, because I've semi-mastered that thing. I won't say I've mastered it, but I've gotten used to the thing that I was excited about, and so I find it really hard to focus on one thing at a time. And this is especially true when I can't see results straight away. I find it really hard to remain focused, and as a result I get too hasty. I tried to move through these challenges, these labs, in a way that was just too quick for the actual course. I needed to take a little bit more time, be a bit more patient with myself, be a bit more patient with the process and learning things. And hacking is one of those things that I think that as we first fall in love with hacking, we think that it's quick, it's instant, there's instant wins, you're getting root, getting system, and it's really sexy and awesome. But I'm reminded of a story of the Stuxnet hack performed by the US government that took, I think it was about 1 to 2 years to do. And that's one of those things. It was an amazing achievement in terms of hacking, but it took a long time to do. It wasn't an overnight thing. It wasn't an overnight success. And I think sometimes I get caught up with looking for just the overnight successes, the overnight wins, and not the eye on the prize of getting better at the craft, learning and growing, and being focused on the actual process of learning and actually getting used to the tools, the systems, the methodology, and everything that makes a good pen tester. And so for me, and maybe for you too, I need to grow patient. I need to become more patient with myself in hacking. with my learning as well, and with myself. I like to learn things really quickly and get good at them really quickly, and hacking's just not one of those things that you can get good at overnight. It takes years of practice. It takes many man hours to actually get good at hacking. And I often feel anxiety. I feel anxiety that it's taking so long to learn these things. I feel anxiety that other people are so far ahead of me in the journey. And the reality is that everyone is feeling the same way, and that everyone is on their own journey, and we can only do as much as we can do. And everyone is putting in the hard work, and everyone is struggling just like you and just like me. And so being hard on ourselves just doesn't help us. It creates more anxiety and creates more frustration, and it makes us more impatient. And at the end of the day, we don't need to be more impatient. There's so many things that are so instant in our lives that we actually need to learn to be more patient in our journey. And so that's kind of like one of the lessons that I'm learning through this failure this week, these last 2 weeks, and through just this whole course and learning to hack is to be more patient. Be patient with yourself. You will get there. You will become a good hacker. It just takes time. So I want to encourage you to keep going. You can do this. If you found this video helpful, I want to encourage you to subscribe for all things hacking, security, and tech. And if you haven't already, please check out the rest of this series, which I'll link about here, I think. And yeah, hope you have a good week. See you in the next one.